Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go to this pretty entertaining post, or short story if you will, titled, Am I the a-hole for dropping off a chick in the middle of the road after she started making fun of my friend's height? And big shout out to Ash for sending me this story. And guys, what we have here is this story or post if you will. It's very long. That was posted last night. And I got a hold of this right away before it was deleted. And essentially it's about this guy telling his situation where he was at a party with a bunch of friends. Sounds like he's young, college age, maybe early 20s. And everybody's drinking and all that. And this guy was the designated driver, so he was sober. And before they left, they ran into some girl. Maybe he was talking to her, I forget. And she was drunk, and she couldn't find her ride. So he offered her as a nice gesture to give her a ride home as he's dropping all the rest of his friends. Okay. They get in the car, and with his group, he has his one buddy who's really short. And I guess the kid was always giving shit about that when he was younger. And then she gets in the car and immediately starts ripping on him, really making fun of him and all that, as well as the other people in the car. Remember, this is the guy who's doing her a favor by taking her home. And the guy called her on it and said, cut it out. And she didn't stop. And he said, cut it out or I'm going to drop you off. And she didn't care and kept making fun of him. So finally he said, that's it. And he dropped her out, and he kicked her ass out of the car, left her on the side of the road to fend for herself. And let me tell you guys, the amount of hate that this guy was getting from all the different girls that he knew the next day was unbelievable, because how could he do that? And they started coming up with all these scenarios, these awful things that could happen, which didn't, by the way, and everything. So he posted this, wondering, is he the a-hole in the situation? Well, guess what? As you can probably imagine, as how things usually go, this guy was eviscerated in the comment section. I didn't find one comment back in this guy. Everybody was... These were girls, by the way. How could he do this? And imagining all the worst possible case scenario things that could happen to this girl. Not once addressing she's an a-hole, right? So I'm going to go through this, guys. I know I kind of pretty much told the whole story here, but the point is this is more of a learning thing than an entertaining story. I'm going to read this and point out some very important facts about standing your ground, not taking any crap, commanding respect, as well as how the masses usually think, which they're usually wrong. And by the way, keep in mind, what would happen if the situation was reversed? What would happen if a group of girls picked up a guy and he was being a jerk and they left him on the side of the road? Do you think they would get a whole lot of hate for kicking him to the curb? We all know the answer to that. So, I'm going to read this real quick. He says, so I went to a party last week with my friend Adrian. Adrian is on the shorter side at 5'4". He told me he used to get bullied for it a lot and is sensitive about people poking fun at him in our group. In our group of 4 that went, I was a designated driver. So my friends all got shit-faced, and I was talking to this girl who was slowly getting very drunk. By the end of the night, I asked her where her ride was, and she was a mess and couldn't find them. I offered her a ride back to her place, as I had to drop off my friends and get them all home safe anyway. Okay, so he's doing this as a gesture. She's drunk, can't find her friends. Maybe her friends left her because you're going to see she's a total a-hole. Who knows? He's doing a good deed. Well, no good deed goes unpunished, and he's being a little bit of a white knight here. I wouldn't do this. When I got all 4 of them loaded up my car, she immediately began making fun of all my friends, but specifically Adrian, about his stature. She was shorter than me, but taller than him by a few inches. She was calling him short, asking if he needed a car seat, saying he couldn't be more than 8 years old, etc. I told him to lay off him if she wanted to ride home. He made it clear, lay off him. She's in the car making fun of him, all the friends. Now, there's little jokes, that's one thing, but this sounds like it was pretty nasty. It continues. However, she continued to make fun of him. So I stopped the car on the side of the road about halfway to where she said her apartment was and told her to get the F out. She refused. I told her that she can either get out or I can come back there and make her get out. She eventually got out of it, and I dropped off my friends, who all seemed okay with what I did because they saw what happened firsthand. However, other people, primarily girls I'm friends with, were not. They said what I did was horrific and that she didn't deserve that. I said she was being shitty to someone, and I asked her kindly not to be shitty to him, and she refused, so she lost her ride. Am I the a-hole? In my opinion, absolutely not. You're a hero. You get the badass award for the day. Hell no. This guy was doing her a favor. And I don't care if she was drunk. That's always the convenient excuse that people use when they act like jackasses or do some awful thing. You've all heard this in these stories. She was being a total jerk. And I'm willing to bet you she would have been the same way if she wasn't drunk. He offered her a favor to take her home, which was a kind gesture. She could have Ubered or Lyft or some damn thing or called someone. But he gave her a ride. She's giving his friend shit. Now, sure, there's a world difference between poking fun and being a real a-hole about it. It sounds like she was being a real a-hole about it. He warned her. She didn't care. Kept them. So he said, get the fuck out. It's about respect, guys. You must command respect in life. Otherwise, people will disrespect you. And if you say something, if you do this, I'm going to do this, and somebody tests you on it, you got to act. And when it comes to women, men must always command respect. Women do not respect weak men, okay? All this bullshit you see in the movies and TV with these soft guys, and you all get what I'm talking about here and how they act and behave, and the women love them so much. Real life, men that act that way, men that are soft, men that are weak, men that are doormats, that let the girl walk all over them, they have no respect for them. These are the guys that they cheat on. These are the guys that they are awful to. And there are a lot of women out there that if a guy acts weak, what their definition of weak is, what their perception of weak is, they will deliberately do more awful things as a way, in a sense, to punish him. Many of you guys have been in a situation where that has happened to you. I guarantee it. You can't be that way. You have to command respect. And she disrespected him. She disrespected his buddy. He warned her. You all heard it. She didn't care. And I don't care if alcohol was involved. So he left her ass on the side of the road. And of course, all the girls that he's friends with are all hating on him. Well, let me tell you something. They may all think he's the biggest a-hole to walk the earth, but you know what? I guarantee you, every single one of them, two things. Number one, even though they think he's the biggest a-hole in the world and are hating on him, probably won't talk to him ever again, deep down, they have respect for him. They're not going to cross him. They're not going to respect him like maybe they admire him, but they're going to respect him in the sense that they're not going to mess with him. And number two, if they stay friends with him, do you think they're ever going to pull something like this again with him? I mean, not again, but ever with him? Nope. They will think twice before crossing this guy, because most guys would never have the balls to do this. And there you go. Now, as I said before, given the reaction from his friend, those girls, and obviously in the comment section, like I didn't find one comment back in it. There were 400 when I read this real quick last night. They were all tearing him apart, and they mostly were no doubt women, right? Well, in my opinion, the masses generally almost always have it wrong. Think about this, guys. In life, the masses, the majority of people out there are unhappy with their lives. They're unhappy with their jobs. They're unhappy with their income. They're unhappy with what they have. They're unhappy where they live. They're unhappy with their bodies. Half the population is overweight or obese. They're unhappy with their lover, wife, girlfriend, whatever. They're unhappy with their friends. They're unhappy where they live. I mean, I can go on and on, right? So why should I follow the wisdom of the masses when they're all that miserable and unhappy making bad choices? Think about it. Let's talk about the stock market. When the masses are buying stocks at all-time highs with ridiculous valuations and in companies that are shit just because it's popular and there's this euphoria out there about the markets, is that the time to buy? No. Well, that's usually, in that situation, that's the time usually to take your profits. On the other hand, when the markets have tanked and you're in a very bad bear market or in a recession, and those same masses that were singing the praises about the financial markets and buying at all-time highs and thinking it could never go down, and you had freaking 18-year-olds walking around Planet Fitness talking about their Robinhood accounts, and they know everything about the financial markets. Now, these same groups of people wouldn't touch it with a 10-meter pole, and you got fantastic companies trading 40, 50% low from their all-time high. That's the time to buy for a long-term investor, because the masses wouldn't touch those financial assets then. That's the time to buy. See what I mean? You do the opposite of what the masses are doing. Or let's talk about real estate. Does it make a whole lot of sense to buy houses at all-time highs when there's an asking price of $500,000 and there's so many people competing for that house, they're paying 50 grand, 60 grand above asking price? That's the type of shit that was going on a year ago. Does that make a whole lot of sense? Skipping home inspections to get yourself a chance to get in that house? Does that make a whole lot of sense when the masses are doing that? No. On the other hand, when you have a major housing correction and everybody's all of a sudden afraid to buy houses and they've come down substantially in price and you got a great deal out there, a lot of people wouldn't do that. Again, going the opposite of the masses. Or let's talk about college. People racking up these astronomical debts because everybody else does that for these worthless degrees. Does that make a whole lot of sense? No. So you get my point about following the masses. Now the masses are trashing this guy because of what he did. So people might think, well, I guess he's in the wrong. My opinion, no. But then again, I'm different, and I've always gone against the masses, and I've done pretty well for myself. But anyhow, so like I said, guys, this is a story, but it's also a teaching tool about people, psychology, and all that. And the last one, I might add. Let's talk about what would happen if the situation was reversed. Right? If this was a group of girls that gave a guy a ride home, and he was in the car, and he was making fun of the driver's friend, let's just say she was fat, and he was making fun of her because she was fat and all that, and she said, if you keep that up, I'm gonna kick you out, and he's like, and kept making fun of her big ass, and she kicked him out, and posted this, am I the a-hole? Do you think the same amount of people would be calling her an a-hole and coming after her? No, they'd be celebrating her. And some people would say, well, it's different, SSM, because it's a guy, and he's not going to have these things happen. Okay, sure. That's fine, but still, he isn't out in the middle of nowhere. He's still drunk. He could get hit by a car. He could be robbed. Things could happen. But the odds are it's not going to happen. You see what I'm talking about? So it's very interesting, the take on all this, and these are things I wanted to point out. Now, I'm going to read a few comments here just to show what I'm talking about with people tearing a new one. And by the way, all these people had these ideas that, all these awful things that could have happened to this poor, sweet, and innocent gal. Guess what? She was fine. And these are the extreme circumstances, and they're likely not going to happen. So, first one. You are the a-hole. You have no idea how vulnerable she was drunk and alone in the middle of the night. Don't care what kind of a-hole she was. You volunteered to get her home safely, and you failed. Most drunks are a-holes by the end of their evening, and your short friend could have sucked it up for 5 more minutes. It doesn't matter. He told her. End of story. And guess what? He talked about vulnerability and all that stuff like that. Guess what? Unless I'm mistaken, everybody in this day and age has a smartphone. She could have contacted Uber or Lyft or called somebody. Doesn't sound like she was that drunk she couldn't operate a phone. And again, she was fine. Another one says, you are the a-hole. Was she wrong for making fun of your friend? Absolutely. But dropping her off while she's drunk at night in the middle of nowhere is insane. If you let her stay in the car and make fun of your friend, then the consequences of that is your friend has hurt feelings. But by doing what you did, the potential consequences are even worse. She could have been kidnapped and all these other awful things that I'm not going to mention, so you could save your friend's feelings. Also, you were the sober one. You were the one trusted to take care of the group. You told her when she got in your car that you would get her home safely with you, and that wasn't true. Shame on you. Yeah, he was going to get her home on the basis that she was going to be a disrespectful asshole, and that's what she was. And again, back to these awful things that could have happened. Guess what? What are the odds of those things going to happen? And by the way, it's not like these people responding to this thing are acting like he dropped her off in the middle of the desert where mountain lions and rattlesnakes were coming after her and all that. No, this is probably just a road down the street, halfway to the destination. There was probably a gas station or something at some point. I'm sure there was cell phone reception. He didn't take her crap, okay? Again, situation was reversed. If this was a guy and a bunch of girls kicked him out, nobody'd care. She learned a lesson. You think this girl is ever going to pull a stunt like that again with somebody who's doing him a favor in the car? No. She'll remember this to the day she dies. And all those girls that are hating on him, these girls that he's friends with, they're going to think about it twice too. Another person says, you're the a-hole. She was wrong for acting that way she did, but you were so much more in the wrong. You simply don't take a drunk woman away from the last known safe spot she was in and dump her in the middle of nowhere because she hurt your feelings. Do you even know or care if she's safe? Not a single one of your female friends will feel safe with you now. I don't think this guy gives a hoot in hell if his female friends won't want to hang out with him now or trust him now or anything like that. They may hate him, but I think he's an a-hole, but they'll at least respect him and not mess with him. And by the way, women think you're an asshole, you're doing something right. Another one. I can't believe you did what you did. You're such an effing a-hole. Sure, she was being an a-hole by making fun of your friend, but you left a drunk gal alone in the middle of the road at night. Like, dude, do the dots and make this not okay effing connect with you. She could have been all these things they think could happen. All manner of bad things could have happened to this girl because of the situation you put her in. She put herself in that situation. Once you accept the responsibility to be her ride, you get her home. It doesn't matter if she's being obnoxious. That's just what drunks do. Well, I wouldn't have taken her in the car. I would let her fend for herself in terms of at the party. That's the one thing I have an issue with, But then again, maybe she seemed like she was all right at that point. But again, all this stuff, these sweet and innocent gals that should be, let their shit slide. No. This guy called her on her bad behavior. He said he warned her. Didn't make a difference. End of story. And again, if a guy did this, nobody would be reacting this way. He says, sorry, your friend's ego is more important than the physical well-being of a person under your responsibility. I hope all those girls stop being friends with you since you're such a shitty person. F you, you're the a-hole. I don't think this guy gives a crap if any of these girls he's friends with talk to him ever again. I can just tell. You think I'd care? Hell no. You think any of you guys would care? Hell no. But this is, and they like to come back and insult his friend's feelings and all this stuff like that. It's about respect. And this girl had no respect. And a lot of people out there simply don't have respect. So this young gal got called on it. And let me tell you a quick story, guys. I know you guys like stories on occasion about my personal life. When I was 13 years old, it was a couple days after Christmas. And I grew up a lot of my life in small town, rural bumblefuck, Pennsylvania. And a couple days after Christmas, on Christmas break, you get like 9 days off school, connect the weekends. And it was very cold. We had some snow, we usually didn't have that around Christmas time, but we did then. There was definitely several inches of snow outside, slush on the road. It was really cold. And my mom, my sister, and I went out that day. And on the way home, it was getting dark. It was about 4:15 in the afternoon. I remember this like it was yesterday. And I was being your typical obnoxious 13-year-old in the car. And I was pissing my mom off. And finally, whatever I said, whatever I did, and I can't remember because it's been 30 goddamn years, my mom pulled the car over and told me to get out and walk home. And this was like easily 2 miles from my house. And we are in rural Pennsylvania, and it's December 27th, 28th, snow all over the ground, it's cold out, slush in the road, and she told me to walk home because I was pissing her off. And at first I didn't think she was serious. She's like, get out. So I got out and I had to walk home, and it got dark and it was cold and I'm walking in snow and slush and everything like that. And when I got home, my dad yelled at me and they sent me to a room and grounded me, and I was pretty much stuck there. And I wish I remember what I did. But anyhow, the point is this. My mom demonstrated she's not going to take any crap from me. And do you think I ever pulled that same crap again? Do you think that ever happened a second time? Nope. Not at all. But my parents were old school. My parents were military. They didn't take shit from anybody. And they passed this on to myself and my sister. And my sister raises her son the same way. And he is a straight A student, does great, polite, all that. There you go. So I have no problem with this guy did. And obviously the girl was fine and all that. So just you got to learn to lay down the law and not take any crap. And if people hate on him, so be it. But again, perfect example of all these things I talk about. And the masses, generally, whatever the masses think is the right thing or the way things ought to be, well, take a look at the collective wisdom of the masses and how happy they are in the world, amongst many other things, and pretty much do the opposite. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. I know this was more of a me ranting about this type of thing as opposed to an actual long story, but I think you got the point about this whole thing. Important issues to address. This is a men's channel. It's all about, aside from entertaining stories, which I know you all love, it's also about learning things and bettering ourselves and all that. So there you go. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know, guys. Was this guy, in your opinion, the a-hole, or was he in the right? I'd like to hear your opinion on this. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate. I'm sure somebody's going to email me or comment that I'm in the wrong here and blah, 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 but so be it. I'm used to that. But I'd really like to hear what you guys think on this one. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.